Adam and Michael, along with their adopted daughter Scarlett, were on their way to their newly bought house. The house was famous not only for its beautiful architecture, but also for its terrifying mystery. Scarlett felt cold as soon as she entered the house, because it was known as a haunted house. Many terrifying murders had taken place here, and many people said they had seen ghosts around the house, making it one of the most famous haunted places in America. Adam and Michael bought the house at a cheap price. They had never believed in ghosts before, so they thought it was all superstition. They also said that living in a haunted place like this would be an interesting experience. Scarlett didn't care about the rumors at first, and then went upstairs to pack her things. Suddenly a marble rolled from afar. Scarlett looked out the door but saw no one. She turned back to work when another marble appeared. Scarlett began to feel confused. She went to the room at the end of the hallway when the closet door behind suddenly opened. Scarlett walked back to check and saw inside a strange black outfit. She was excited, so she brought it back to her room and put it on. While Scarlett was absorbed in looking at herself in the mirror, suddenly her eyes in the mirror suddenly turned black. Scarlett was scared, so she immediately took off the outfit and threw it in the trash. The next day, she went to a new school. Not long after going to school, Scarlett was noticed by 4 girls in the bully group. During recess, the leader of the bullies suddenly came to talk to Scarlett. Her name was Maya, a beautiful girl. Scarlett was immediately attracted to her at first sight. She later told this story to her best friend Santi. Scarlett also said that Maya wanted to confess to her. Santi thought that things were not that simple. Maybe Maya just wanted to tease Scarlett. However, Scarlett still hoped that one day, Maya would be her girlfriend. So in the following days, they kept texting each other until late at night. Maya even invited Scarlett to her house for a slumber party on the weekend. Scarlett happily agreed. One night, Scarlett was sleeping and dreamed that Maya was lying next to her, the two of them hugging each other intimately. Scarlett did not know that there was a dark shadow slowly crawling on the ceiling. When Scarlett suddenly woke up, it had disappeared. The next day, when Scarlett was alone in her room, the closet behind her suddenly creaked. She opened it and was surprised to see the black outfit from the day before. Although Scarlett had thrown it in the trash, she did not understand why the black outfit appeared here. Scarlett then came up with a plan. She put on her clothes and took a knife to her parents' room, scaring them. Adam and Michael were furious. Adam went to grab the knife from Scarlett, but his daughter slashed his hand. Scarlett was shocked and didn't understand why she did that. Adam and Michael thought their daughter had a mental problem, so they invited a therapist to treat Scarlett. Scarlett kept saying that she was fine. However, because of what she had done before, Adam and Michael forbade their daughter from leaving the house or going to a weekend party with her friends. Scarlett was furious, so she stood up, cursed her parents, and went upstairs. The couple felt that their daughter had been more irritable lately. The psychologist asked to go to the bathroom before going home, but as soon as she opened the door, she saw a figure passing by. The psychologist was curious, so he followed. Just arrived at the basement of the house, suddenly a man in black appeared and stabbed the psychologist to death immediately. When Adam and Michael discovered there was only a pool of blood and clothes left on the floor, they felt worried, so they threw the clothes into the fireplace. That night, when her parents went to bed, Scarlett tiptoed to change clothes and drove to Maya's house. They held a slumber party together. Seeing that Scarlett did not have pajamas, Maya called her into her private room and gave Scarlett her clothes. The two then kissed. Maya said she loved Scarlett very much. Maya also asked Scarlett about her secrets. Scarlett was naive, so she told Maya everything. Scarlett said that she really liked girls and also the embarrassing things that she had always kept hidden. While they were talking, a text message came in. It was from her best friend Santi. She kept telling Scarlett to stop. They were live streaming and recording what she said. Only then did Scarlett realize that the phone was hidden in the corner of the room. It turned out that the bullies had plotted to let the whole school know all of Scarlett's secrets. Scarlett was embarrassed and ran home. The bullies happily called Scarlett to tease her. Scarlett said that she no longer wanted to live. Before she left this world, she would leave a letter denouncing all the bullies' actions. The police would then investigate, and Maya's group would be arrested for bullying others. Maya was extremely scared after hearing this. Maya immediately apologized to Scarlett and advised her to calm down. Scarlett asked them to come to her house in 30 minutes. If they didn't do it, Scarlett would call the police. So the whole group of bullies had no choice but to run to the haunted house. They were extremely scared and slowly walked inside. When the bullies just entered, the door suddenly closed. They then went down to the basement of the house. Suddenly someone rushed out and scared the bullies, causing them to run away in fear. Scarlett, now wearing black, rushed in with a knife and killed them one by one. They screamed and banged on the door, but it was locked. After a while, the 4 bullies were all dead. Scarlett hurriedly took the bodies away to get rid of the evidence. The next morning, Michael and Adam found Scarlett fixing a corner of the wall in her room. She said that her was bored at home, so she thought of something to do to pass the time faster. Adam and Michael were very happy that their daughter listened. They did not know that inside the wall were the corpses of 4 girls. From that day on, everything in the house began to become scary. One night, while Scarlett was sleeping, she saw the ghost of the psychologist. Scarlett had not yet recovered from her fear when the ghosts of the 4 bullies suddenly appeared. It turned out that the rumor about the haunted house was true. This place possessed a mysterious spiritual power. That spiritual power makes anyone who dies in this house will be resurrected as a soul and will never be able to leave this place. The bullies were angry because Scarlett killed them. They were about to take revenge when a mysterious girl came out to stop them. She just said a few threatening words to the bullies and then quickly left in fear. That girl was Ruby. She was a ghost who died in this house a long time ago. Ruby said that since she was little, she lived with her perverted uncle. He had often raped her, then had killed her, and had hidden her body here, making it impossible for her soul to rest. Scarlett loved Ruby very much. The two quickly developed feelings for each other. One day the police came and asked to investigate the house. They suspected Scarlett was related to the disappearance of the 4 girls. The last phone number that Maya contacted was Scarlett's phone number. According to the location, the place they had gone to before disappearing was also this house. Adam and Michael did not believe their daughter was guilty, so they quickly chased police out of the house. However, Scarlett knew that she could not hide this any longer. One day, when Adam and Michael were having a worker come to the house to assemble some items, they smelled a foul smell coming from the corner of the wall. Adam broke the wall and was horrified to see the dead bodies of the girls inside. Adam and Michael were about to run away when a stranger blocked their way. At this time, the ghosts in the house also appeared. The couple were extremely scared and wanted to run out the back door, but they found that they could not leave the house. At this time, they realized that they had died before. It turned out that Ruby was the murderer who killed Adam and Michael. The girl wanted to keep them here so that Scarlett could not leave and would always be by her side. A moment later, when Scarlett returned home and discovered the horrifying scene, Ruby rushed to comfort the girl. Then the ghosts of Adam and Michael also appeared. Even though they were dead, they were still very worried about their daughter. Scarlett said that she would decide her own fate. She didn't need anyone to care about her anymore. That day was Halloween night, the only day of the year that Ghost could leave the house. Scarlett and Ruby happily went out to play Halloween together. Meanwhile, the bullies secretly planned. They planned to kill Scarlett outside the house so that her soul could not be revived. Scarlett and Ruby were still unaware of this and happily played together. Suddenly, her best friend Santi appeared. She was worried because Scarlett had not been to school recently and could not be contacted. Scarlett said that everything was very complicated. Although she tried to explain, Santi did not want to listen. Scarlett was frustrated and left. Just then, 4 girls from the bullies appeared. They were about to harm Santi, but were stopped by Ruby. Ruby said that whoever was Scarlett's friend was also her friend. Santi heard that and immediately said that if Ruby had been Scarlett's friend, then she shouldn't have just kept her by her side, but Ruby should have let Scarlett do whatever she had wanted. Ruby realized something in her heart after hearing that. The next morning, they returned home. Scarlett had already told them everything that had been on her mind. She had loved Ruby very much, but had also wanted to leave home to explore a new life. Although Ruby was sad, she still respected Scarlett's decision. The bullies also changed their minds. They no longer blamed Scarlett for the past incident. They thought that they had also been at fault for bullying Scarlett. Scarlett then went home to pack her things and said goodbye to her parents. She went to see Ruby for the last time. The two hugged each other and cried. Scarlett promised that she would definitely come back to visit Ruby. A few years later, Ruby was at home when she received a call. The caller was Scarlett. She said that she had been searching everywhere for information about Ruby's stepfather and that she had finally found him. Scarlett said that she would take revenge for Ruby's past, that day would be the last day Ruby's stepfather would live in this world. Scarlett then went and killed the perverted stepfather who had raped Ruby. Scarlett then returned to the haunted house to meet her lover again. The two happily hugged each other. In the end, Scarlett kept her promise. Episode 3 was called Cursed. The main characters in that episode were a couple in love named Chat and Kelly. Although they had known each other for 6 months, their relationship was still innocent. Every time Chat had wanted to be more intimate, it. Kelly had stopped him. She had found every excuse to say that she was not ready for that. After that, Kelly quickly left. Chat thought that his girlfriend was not interested in adult things, so he tried to find a way to arouse her interest. After listening to Chat's two friends, an idea suddenly came to him. That was to take Kelly to see a horror movie. One friend also said that in the 1986, there was a very scary horror movie that was released. It was called Rabby Rabby. It was rumored that those who watched this movie became crazy, unable to control themselves, and killed others. Chat then went home and searched online and found out truth was just like what his friends said. When the movie was just released, it caused many viewers to die. The director was also arrested and imprisoned. Because he was curious, Chat decided to invite Kelly to see it with him. He found a place that would show this movie on the weekend. Chat invited his girlfriend to go to the movies with him. Kelly was very happy and immediately agreed. The two of them did not know the horror that awaited them ahead. Very quickly, that day came. The movie premiere location was an empty lot near the city. The audience would buy their own tickets and sit in their cars to watch the movie. Because this was a famous horror movie, many curious viewers came to watch it. When Chat and Kelly arrived at the ticket booth, they saw a woman standing outside the fence. She kept shouting, saying that they should not watch the movie if they did not want to die. Chat and Kelly thought that the woman was hired by the cinema to increase the drama, so they did not care about what she said. Before the movie started, Chat also met two of his best friends. They were also very interested in this movie. Kelly also invited her classmate to watch it together. Everyone was curious, wondering what was in the movie that made the audience so crazy. Chat then accidentally met the woman outside the fence. She said that she had been a viewer of the movie in 1986. When it had just started, many viewers had gone crazy. Her boyfriend was also a victim. The woman advised Chat to drive back before it was too late. However, he did not want to miss this interesting date with Kelly. A little later, it was time for the movie to start. The cinema owner was an old woman. She received the film roll from a mysterious man, then installed it in the projector to play it on the screen. The movie had only started for a few minutes when the audience below began to be hypnotized. Their eyes slowly turned bloodshot. Chat and Kelly were so absorbed in kissing that they were lucky not to look at the screen. Meanwhile, Kelly's best friend was not so lucky. She was watching the movie with her boyfriend when she suddenly went crazy. Kelly's best friend rushed over and bit his penis. The audience around also began to be affected by the movie. They rushed to attack the others. Screams were heard everywhere. Chat and Kelly then realized what was happening. They were about to drive away when suddenly Kelly's friend jumped on the roof of the car and tried to smash the glass. Kelly had no choice but to drive straight into the wall, causing her best friend to hit his head and die instantly. Meanwhile, inside the cinema, the woman outside the fence was sneaking in. She wanted to destroy the tape to stop the movie. However, the woman did not know that the cinema owner was also possessed. She frantically rushed to attack the woman. Then the cinema owner used scissors to stab her in the eye. The maid saw it and tried to stop her, but suffered the same fate. Chat and Kelly took advantage of the chaos in the crowd to quickly run into the cinema and lock the door. The two were lucky to escape death by a hair's breadth. At this time, they were horrified to discover the bodies of the woman and the maid lying on the floor. Their bodies had been terribly mutilated. While Kelly was looking for weapons to defend herself, the cinema owner suddenly appeared and rushed to attack Kelly. Chat quickly ran to stop her. In a fit of anger, he crazily used a heavy object to hit her repeatedly on the head, killing her instantly. The next morning, the riot had ended. Bodies were scattered all over the ground. Chat and Kelly were the only two survivors. However, they did not want to let this matter go easily and decided to go to the director's house to pay back everything he had done. After searching for information on the film, the two found the director's house. When he learned about what happened last night, he was not only not afraid, but also very excited. The director thought that his film had reached the pinnacle of a horror film. The main characters were not the actors, but the audience sitting in front of the screen. The director also said that during his years in prison, he secretly recorded the film so that he could create a complete copy of the original. He tried to restore the old film, mainly so that audiences around the world could enjoy and praise his talent. Kelly was so angry that he shot the director twice in the leg, then set fire to his house. Before he died, the director kept saying that one day this film would be released worldwide. A few months later, Kelly and Chat were happily intimate with each other in bed. They did not know that the cursed film was already available on the Netflix platform. Outside the city, horrific explosions were happening happening everywhere. That signaled that a new tragedy was about to begin. Episode 4 was called Mischief Game. The main characters in this episode were 4 best friends in a group. Their jobs are streamers and YouTubers. The leader is Jin, the Asian guy is Whitus, the black guy is James, the last one is the cameraman, Barry. In order to get more views and subscribers, they made outrageous jokes to attract viewers. The videos of the 4 guys quickly became a trend and brought them a lot of money. One day, when the 4 of them were hanging out in the park, they suddenly saw a man preparing to jump off a bridge to leave this world. Thinking that they would run to stop him, Jin decided to film the scene and post it online. At first, Barry seemed to disagree. However, when he saw his 3 friends waiting, he had no choice but to follow. The man then jumped down. The whole process was recorded on camera. Jin thought this scene was crazy and would definitely attract a lot of views. That night, the 4 of them invited a lot of friends to a party. While everyone was having fun, Jin decided to post the video on social media. He thought that everyone would enjoy watching the video, but after watching it, the people there left disappointed. They thought that the guys had gone too far. A day after the video was posted, there were a lot of negative comments. Their channel also lost 50,000 followers. Most people thought that they had filmed someone preparing to leave this world to increase their audience's interaction. That was unacceptable. The 4 of them started to worry. They didn't think things would get this bad. However, the leader Jin thought that the situation could still be saved. As long as they filmed more interesting videos, viewers would quickly forget about that video. So the 4 guys continued to do funny things to attract viewers. The content became more and more annoying to the audience. The number of video views kept decreasing. Sponsors kept terminating contracts. Furniture and vehicles in the house were also taken back. On the street, the 4 guys were teased by beautiful girls. The 4 guys started to worry. However, they did not give up and decided to continue filming more videos. Near Christmas, the 4 guys went to the mall to film Santa Claus. Seeing the children standing and taking pictures, the leader Jin immediately went up to tease them. He stood in front of the children and said that Santa Claus was not real. It was the children's parents who dressed up. After that, Jin even laughed and teased the old man in costume. The man got angry and stood up and hit Jin. Santa Claus said that the 4 of them would regret what they said. The 4 boys were of course not remorseful at all. That night, they happily went home to post new videos. Suddenly, Jin received a call from the police. The police said that the Santa Claus that Jin's group had met was a murderer. He was a fanatic who had killed the actor who played the real Santa Claus and dressed as the victim. Now he had escaped and the police had not been able to find him. Jin felt a little worried after hearing this. However, he thought that he had nothing to do with it, so he should be fine. Meanwhile, Whitus was going down to the warehouse to get some water. He had just opened the refrigerator door when he saw a camera pointed straight at him. He did not understand what was going on. Suddenly, the murderer appeared behind Whitus. He used one hand to twist Whitus' head 180 degrees, causing him to die instantly. The whole process was recorded by the camera. The video was then posted on the group's channel. Viewers were amused, thinking that the special effects and makeup were very clever. Jin's group thought Whitus was using tricks when they saw it. However, the 3 of them waited for a while, but still did not see Whitus return. Jin immediately went down to the warehouse to check, but did not see his friend. As soon as he stepped out into the yard, he suddenly saw the murderer. He was a middle-aged man. Jin tried to run away, but was rushed over and repeatedly hit with a stick. The murderer then tied him up with electric wires hanging from light bulbs. Jin tried to scream for help, but his mouth was covered. Without hesitation, the murderer threw the young man into the pool, electrocuting him to death. At this time, James and Barry, who were in the house, suddenly realized something was wrong. They discovered Jin lying dead outside the yard. The 2 were scared and quickly ran out to the car. However, the killer was already ambushing on the roof. He shot arrows at the 2 people. James was pierced through the head by an arrow, killing him instantly. Now only Barry was left. He was hit by an arrow in the leg and tried to move into the house and pull the arrow out. Barry intended to call the police, but found that his phone was broken. He had no choice but to text his fans for help. However, everyone thought this was a joke. At this time, the killer was standing on the chimney. He poured gasoline directly on Barry, then set him on fire. Barry was engulfed in flames and could only scream and run away. Finally, he fell into the water and died. At the end of the film, the police came to examined the scene and discovered a horrifying scene. The bodies of the 4 boys were lying in the yard of the house. In particular, the body of the group leader was also chopped into many pieces to decorate the Christmas tree. Episode 5 was called Pregnancy. The characters in that episode were a young couple. The girl, named Liz, was an extremely rich woman. She had a husband named Matt. He was a talented young actor. The 2 had been married for a long time but still had no children. Although Liz and Matt had been to many hospitals and tried many different methods of support, support, they still could not have their child. Liz did not give up but was determined to get pregnant. She was very rich, so money was not a problem. One day, when she went to the hospital, she suddenly met a nurse on duty outside. She knew that Liz had been there many times. The nurse felt sorry for Liz, so she secretly told her a way to help her have children easily. The nurse then gave Liz a strangely shaped black statue. She said that if Liz put it under the bed, it would help the two of them have children quickly. Liz did not believe it after hearing it, but because she wanted to have a child so much, she still decided to follow the nurse's advice. Liz put the statue under her bed. Sure enough, it really worked. More than a year later, Liz became pregnant and gave birth to a lovely baby boy. However, Liz was like other mothers who had children for the first time. She felt tired and depressed after giving birth. Liz felt that the baby did not like her because just being held by her would make it cry loudly. One day, Liz accidentally found the black statue under her bed. She had long forgotten its existence. Liz then put the statue in a box and stored it in the warehouse. That night, she was about to fall asleep when she suddenly saw something standing in her son's room. Liz rushed in to check, but there was no one. Just when she went to check the closet, she was extremely surprised. After hearing the news, Matt thought that Liz was just hallucinating because she had been having trouble sleeping recently. He then introduced Liz to a psychologist. Thanks to her advice and medication, Liz's condition improved, but that didn't last long. One day, while Liz was talking to Matt, she suddenly heard her son crying in the room. She ran in to check and saw a scary statue on the headboard. The strange thing was that its shape had changed compared to before. Liz quickly ran to ask the maid. When she saw the statue, she looked scared. The maid immediately asked for leave and ran out of the house without looking back. This made Liz even more worried. She suddenly heard a strange noise and went down to the basement to check. There, Liz discovered scratches on the wall. The water pipe was broken by something. Liz later told Matt about this. He thought the scratches were probably made by rats. However, Liz felt something much scarier. After that, she went online and investigated the origin of the statue. Liz discovered that it was something extremely scary. The statue represented the demon Beelzebub. It was one of the 72 demons of Lord Solomon. The statue was an evil thing that was strictly forbidden to worship all over the world. Liz was scared and didn't know what to do. But suddenly she saw the demon appear on the camera. She rushed to her son's room. There, Liz heard a sound coming from the phone. Liz then put the audio clips together and set the speed to high. She was horrified when she heard someone's voice. It said, "I want the child." Liz was very worried after hearing it. In the following days, she just stayed at home and didn't dare to go anywhere. Liz's spirit became extremely panicked. Her body gradually became weak. Matt saw this and called a psychologist to examine Liz. She advised the girl to take some time to rest. Maybe the sound was just a coincidence, or she imagined it. Before leaving, the psychologist gave Liz a bottle of antidepressants. One day, Matt called his friends over for dinner. They had nothing to do, so they played a Ouija board. This was an ancient way to communicate with spirits in the other world. When the girl asked if anyone was present, the Ouija board suddenly moved. It formed a sentence with the words, "The child will be mine." Liz was shocked when she saw it. Even though Matt explained that it was just a game, she ignored him and went back to her room. The next day, Liz secretly went to see the nurse in the hospital. Liz asked her to explain about the statue and how to stop it. The nurse said that the statue was not a demon, but a sacred object that her family had passed down for generations. The nurse then gave Liz an ancient book and a knife. She said that if Liz followed the instructions in the book, it would help her get rid of the thing that was haunting her son. That night, Liz began to perform the ritual as instructed in the book. She cut her hand and dripped blood on the statue, then chanted the spell continuously. Liz held the knife and continuously slashed in the air. Suddenly, there was a noise behind her. Liz had just swung the knife when it accidentally hit Matt. The knife stabbed deep into Matt's shoulder, but fortunately it was not life-threatening. After that incident, Liz was taken to a mental hospital for treatment. Although Matt advised Liz to go back, she did not want to. Liz was afraid that she would harm the people around her again. Matt then said goodbye to his wife and got in the car to go home. There was another woman in the car. That person was the nurse at the hospital. At this point, everything gradually became clear. It turned out that it was all Matt's plan. He asked the nurse to give the statue to Liz to make her believe that demons were real. Matt did everything to drive Liz crazy. Then, all her money and property would belong to him. Matt's close friends were also in his plan. They were the ones who put the statue in the baby's room and made the scratches in the basement. The Ouija board was also part of the plan. Matt even switched his wife's medication with sedatives. Everything he did was out of greed. They even celebrated the day Liz was admitted to the mental hospital. Matt then went into his son's room to check. The friends outside were talking when the light went out. They saw some something scary and quickly ran away. However, one by one they were brutally killed. Matt heard a scream a moment later and ran out to check. He found a demon with a scary appearance. It used one hand to break the nurse's neck. Matt thought he would be the next victim. However, the demon spared him and disappeared. After that incident, Matt was suspected of being the murderer who had killed 4 people. He was arrested and imprisoned by the police. Liz was now discharged from the hospital. She went to visit her husband alone. Matt tried to tell her the horrible things that had happened. However, Liz did not believe him at all. She did not want to hear anything more from the traitor, so she quickly left. No one knew that Liz was the one who summoned the demon. While in the hospital, she secretly brought a piece of paper from an ancient book. Then, she used her own blood to perform the ritual, thinking that the spells were fake, but that incantation actually summoned the demon and made it serve Liz. Later, Liz wanted to have another baby, but this time, the father was not Matt, but that terrifying demon. Episode 6 was called The Secret of the Forest. Jay and Audie were taking their son Jacob on a trip. Their vacation spot was a campsite in a national park. This place was a large forest that was considered a famous tourist destination in the United States. Every year, many people came here to camp. The whole family then parked their car next to a lake. They had planned this camping trip for a long time. Jacob seemed very excited. The couple also enjoyed themselves after tiring days of office work. They did not know that there was a mysterious figure watching them from behind. The next morning, Jay took Jacob into the forest. The two played hide and seek together. The boy happily hid behind the trees. Jay slowly followed behind. In the blink of an eye, Jay suddenly discovered that his son had disappeared. He hurriedly ran around looking for him. However, there was no trace of the boy. The couple panicked and searched the entire forest. However, they still could not find their son. 10 years later, Jay and Audie tried their best to find Jacob, but there was still no news of him. The couple also lost hope. After the incident that year, 2 of them separated. One day, a man came to Jay's house. He claimed to be a hunter in the national park who accidentally found Jacob's traces. He then showed Jay the picture he had taken. It was a picture of a boy. It was very possible that person in the picture was Jacob, who had been missing for so long. Seeing that Jay didn't seem to believe it, the hunter also showed an old compass. That was what Jacob had hung around his neck before he went missing. Jay was very anxious when he saw it. After so many efforts, someone finally found traces of his son. Jay then went to Audie's house and reported the incident. Jay also asked her to go into the forest with him to search. However, Audie thought it was just a scam. Since the disappearance, many people have come to the couple pretending to have found their son. However, those people mainly just wanted to get money from the couple. After a while of Jay trying to persuade him, Audie finally agreed to go along. She also promised that this would be the last trip to find Jacob. The next day, the 2 of them went back to the national park with the hunter. They went deep into the forest. There was a wooden house to rest. Jay looked around and suddenly saw someone behind the trees. However, when he looked back, it had disappeared. At this time, a young man appeared. He introduced himself as Stan, a forest ranger here. Jay explained that he came here to find his son, but Stan advised the couple to go back. They should not go deep into the forest if they did not want bad things to happen. However, they still decided to continue. After half a day of walking, they finally arrived. However, the scene before their eyes made the 3 of them extremely horrified. Corpses were scattered everywhere. They seemed to be Native Americans. While Jay and Audie did not know what to do, the hunter suddenly pulled out a gun and pointed it at them. It turned out that he had made it all up. The hunter wanted to take couple's money and property, so he lured them into the forest, planning to kill them and then report to the police that they were missing. Because the forest was so vast, no one would know that he was the murderer. Jay tried to negotiate with the murderer. At that moment, the corpse behind him suddenly sat up and bit the hunter's neck. He screamed in pain, accidentally pulling the trigger, causing the bullet to hit Jay. The surrounding corpses also started to sit up, surrounded the hunter, and ate him. Jay and Audie panicked and ran away. They returned to the house in the middle of the forest. Jay was injured, so Stan temporarily bandaged him. When he heard that the hunter had died, Stan was not surprised. He then told Jay and Audie everything. This forest was home to a minority tribe. The scary thing was that they were cannibals. Every year, the forest had recorded more than 2,000 cases of tourists going missing. However, the government did not announce the cause, but secretly hid the truth. The government believed that if the information had been made public, it would have caused a serious decrease in the number of tourists. After telling the couple everything, Stan went into the bedroom to call the help center. While he was talking, the line suddenly lost connection. Above his head, an aborigine had been hiding for a while. It swooped down to attack Stan. At that time, other aborigines also rushed in through the window. They had strange shapes. Some were as big as giants. Jay tried to use his gun to threaten the aborigines. However, after Jay had fired a few shots, the gun ran out of bullets. At that moment, Stan ran out of the room. He was quickly surrounded by the aborigines. They cut open the poor guy's stomach and took out his internal organs. Jay and Adi took the opportunity to run into the forest. The aborigines quickly chased after them. After a while, the couple was surrounded. At that moment, the leader of the natives appeared. This person was Jacob, the son who had gone missing years before. The couple was extremely happy when they saw him. However, their happiness did not last long. After 10 years of living with the natives, Jacob had lost his humanity. Jacob then ordered his subordinates to rush in and eat Jay and Adi. He sat there watching the horrifying scene. Season 2, Episode 1 was called The Dollhouse. The story began in 1961. The main character was a beautiful young girl named Kobe. She came to apply for a job at a factory that specialized in the production of dolls. The manager of that place was a middle-aged man named Panwood. After reading through the application, he was very impressed with Kobe's achievements. She had always topped the exams and had been the valedictorian of the school. It would have been a waste to let such a talented person work as a secretary. Panwood decided to put her in a special position. At this time, a strange man appeared and injected anesthetic, causing Kobe to faint immediately. When Kobe woke up, she found herself in a strange house. Panwood appeared and said that she was officially a contestant for his Perfect Mother contest. Before Kobe could understand what was happening, Panwood quickly left and locked the door, trapping her inside. At this moment, the dolls in the house suddenly moved. They took off their masks. They were beautiful young girls. The girls said that they were also kidnapped here to participate in Panwood's scary contest. He previously had a wife and a son named Otis. One day, Panwood had caught his wife secretly having sex with another man. Out of jealousy, he had cruelly killed the couple and had thrown their bodies down a deep well near his house. Since then, Panwood was determined to find a perfect mother for his son. The kidnapped girls came here to participate in a selection contest to find the perfect one. As soon as she finished speaking, the bell rang. The girls quickly found their costumes and put them on. Kobe also chose a clown costume. A moment later, Panwood's son appeared. He immediately noticed Kobe and asked her to quickly perform a trick for him. Kobe then performed a magic trick that made the toy car move by itself. This surprised Otis very much. He began to have a special impression of Kobe. Kobe had only just joined, but she quickly became the center of attention. This made the other girls jealous of her. A girl named Aurelia angrily said that she would defeat Kobe and become the chosen one. Kobe was surprised and did not understand why these girls wanted to become Panwood's wife so much. She did not know that this contest could only have one winner, and the losers would suffer terrible punishment. That night was the day of the regular knowledge test. Panwood appeared. He gave the task of arranging the eating utensils according to the chosen theme. The person with the lowest score would be eliminated immediately. 1 minute and 30 seconds started. The girls quickly arranged the knives, spoons, and forks in order. Kobe did not know about these things, so she peeked at what the girl opposite was doing and imitated her. Panwood then went around to check. Aurelia was the only one who got a perfect score. Kobe made 3 basic mistakes. Kobe thought she was eliminated. However, the girl sitting next to Kobe unfortunately made more mistakes. She was electrocuted by the guard and then thrown down the well outside. The other girls were terrified at the sight. However, Aurelia didn't care at all and felt that she had one less rival to worry about. The next morning, Otis came to see Kobe as usual. After talking to each other a few times, Kobe felt that this boy was just a pitiful child. Otis lost his mother when he was young, so he had a hot temper but was very weak inside. Kobe promised that if he escaped from here, she would definitely take the boy with her. A few days later, another test took place. This time the topic was about ironing and folding clothes. Kobe was still very flustered as usual. She accidentally burned her shirt. Panwood was angry and immediately took the hot iron and put it in Kobe's hand. She was in great pain but did not dare to scream. It was thought that Kobe would be eliminated. However, Panwood chose another girl to replace her. She was stabbed to death by the guard. Now there were only 3 people left in the house. Kobe did not want any of them to die anymore. She came up with a daring plan. That night was the final exam. Panwood and the guard entered the house. As soon as they were out of sight, Kobe used her mysterious power to automatically open the door. The 3 of them quickly ran outside. Kobe did not run away with the other 2, but decided to pick up Otis. Meanwhile, after standing and talking for a while, Panwood suddenly discovered that the group in front of him were just mannequins. He angrily ordered all the guards to chase the girls. They tried to run away, but the campus was extremely large. The fat girl unfortunately tripped and fell. Aurelia intended to kill her to escape alone. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out, aimed straight at her head, killing Aurelia instantly. The guards caught up. The remaining fat girl suffered the same fate as Aurelia. Meanwhile, Kobe had sneaked into Panwood's mansion. She ran to Otis's room and asked him to come with her. But Otis suddenly took out a stun gun and stabbed Kobe, causing her to fall unconscious on the floor. When Kobe woke up, she found herself tied up. Panwood Panwood was standing right next to her. He said that he knew about Kobe's escape plan. The dolls in the house were all bugged, but he still let the plan happen as a final test. Of the 3 girls, only Kobe cared about Otis, so she officially passed the test and became Otis's mother. Before Kobe could understand what was going on, a metal plate from above slowly pressed down on her. A loud scream rang out. It turned out that in order to become Otis's mother, Kobe was covered with a layer of plaster by Panwood. He turned her into a living doll. Kobe thought that she would stay in that horrible place forever, but suddenly, 2 strange girls appeared. They only used their eyes to make the guard and Panwood stand still and become unable to move. The 2 girls said that Kobe was a witch. She had magical powers, but they were still very weak. They came to take her to the magic school. Kobe knew that that was the moment her life would change. Before leaving, she brought Otis with her. The 2 witches then used magic to create fire and burned Panwood and the guard to death before their helplessness. Later, Kobe became a student at the magic school. Otis also made friends with a red-haired girl named Murder and lived happily like a normal child. Episode 2 was called Halo. A camera manufacturing company had just released a new product. It was called Halo. It was a camera placed in front of the house that connected to the phone via Wi-Fi. It allowed users to talk to guests outside without having to open the door. A young girl named Jasleen saw that camera while going to the supermarket. After thinking for a while, she finally decided to buy it. Jasleen's husband was Bryce. He felt that it was a waste for his wife to spend a large amount of money to buy that camera. However, Jasleen always had a reason behind it. She had been a victim of a robbery when she was young. Since then, Jasleen had always felt uneasy every time she heard a knock on the door. She thought someone was trying to break into the house. Bryce then had no choice but to install a camera right in front of the door. That evening, Jasleen was alone at home. She was working in her room when her phone notified her that someone was standing at the door. Jasleen turned on the camera to check but saw nothing. She went out and found out that it was just a raccoon. Jasleen then went into the bathroom to brush her teeth. Suddenly, the phone rang again. Jasleen was shocked to see a man standing in front of her door. He shouted for her to let him in quickly. Jasleen panicked and asked the man to leave. However, he continued to bang on the door. Jasleen then called the police. Bryce also ran home from work. Jasleen reported that someone had intentionally broken into her house. However, when checking the neighbor's camera across the street, the police did not see any man. Bryce thought that Jasleen was just hallucinating because she was tired. However, she still insisted on believing what she had seen. The next day, while the couple was watching TV, the phone rang again. This time the man from yesterday appeared again. He continued to ask Jasleen to let him in quickly. Bryce cursed angrily, but he did not stop. He picked up his stick and was about to walk out. However, Jasleen thought something was wrong. Bryce then called the neighbor across the street and asked him to check the camera. The neighbor said that no one was standing in front of Bryce's house. After hearing that, Jasleen checked the camera and found that the man had disappeared. Bryce thought that this could be a joke. Someone had hacked their camera on purpose. Jasleen felt that the man looked very familiar. After trying to remember, Jasleen remembered everything. That man's name was Henrik. He was a security guard at the high school that Jasleen used to attend. He really liked Jasleen. He had often looked at her and had put candy in her locker. This made Jasleen very uncomfortable. One day, Henrik was fired from school. He disappeared from there and no one knew about him. Jasleen decided to find out. She drove to the place where Henrik used to live. Now, only his sister remained. She said that her brother had been missing for 6 months. No one knew where he was now. Jasleen then returned home. As soon as she opened the door, her phone rang again. Jasleen was shocked to see Henrik standing outside the door. He begged her to let him in. Jasleen thought for a moment and finally opened the door. However, she saw no one outside. When Jasleen just stepped inside, she was surprised to see Henrik standing behind her. Jasleen was scared and wanted to run away. However, he said that he came here just to apologize because of the things he did in the past that made her uncomfortable. Jasleen thought that this man had no bad intentions, so she agreed to forgive him. Henrik seemed satisfied after hearing this. He sat down and slowly disappeared before Jasleen's astonishment. The next day, the girl watched TV and learned that Henrik had passed away a few days earlier. His body was found in the woods. It seemed like a suicide. After that day, Jasleen never saw the man again. She thought everything was over, but one day, she discovered another woman standing in front of the house. She called herself Mary. Bryce was furious when he looked at his phone. He took the camera off and threw it in the trash. Jasleen felt that her husband was behaving abnormally. Jasleen then secretly investigated the woman named Mary and found out that she had died in an accident. That night, Jasleen came home and asked Bryce everything. She said that this camera was capable of picking up the frequency of the dead. There were similar cases online. Jasleen then told Bryce about Mary's case. Jasleen suspected that her husband was involved in Mary's death, causing her spirit to come here. Bryce initially tried to deny it, it. He said he didn't know who Mary was, but Mary's ghost suddenly appeared, holding a baby in her arms. Bryce then told her everything. Mary was his ex-lover. She was pregnant, but Bryce didn't want to have children, so he had asked Mary to have an abortion. The two had argued. Mary had accidentally stepped out into the street and had been hit by a car, seriously injuring the girl. Not only had Bryce not called an ambulance, but he had also heartlessly kicked Mary's neck, causing her to bleed to death. He didn't want to be caught up in the law, so he had brutally attacked the person he loved. Now Jocelyn knew everything. Bryce was about to kill her with a stick when something suddenly pulled her back. It was Mary's ghost. She came to collect the debt from the past. Bryce then fell to the ground and slowly disappeared. Later, Jocelyn moved to an apartment. Each room had a halo camera installed. Jocelyn thought she could live a peaceful new life. However, Bryce's ex-husband's soul knocked on the door every night and asked Jocelyn to open the door. Maybe this would continue for a long time. Episode 3 was called Late Night Murder. The main character in this episode was a young girl named Mossy. She was a person who loved to party and organize parties. At the bar, she met a handsome guy. Mossy immediately approached to get acquainted. After a few polite words, the two got into the car and became intimate. After finishing, Mossy immediately chased the guy out of the car. Mossy then drove home alone. On the way, she suddenly discovered a red car chasing her. Mossy tried to speed up but was still followed by it. The car also repeatedly hit the back of her car. Mossy then quickly turned the car to the right. Finally, she lost the tail of the stalker. Mossy went home and told her husband, Charles, about this. He told Mossy not to stay out late. Next time if she wanted to go out, Charles would go with her. Late that night, while Mossy was sleeping, she suddenly heard a noise in the house. She walked around to check and found that the warehouse window had been opened for some time. Mossy worriedly went to close the door. The next day, Mossy told her best friend Piper what happened last night. Piper said that recently, there have been many mysterious disappearances in the city. The victims were young girls who went to bars late at night. They were also followed by a mysterious car. Although the victims tried to run away, the killer still caught up and killed them. The bodies of the girls were later found. Most of them were headless. Piper advised Mossy to be careful, not to go out late at night, and don't let strangers into the car. Despite her best friend's efforts to persuade her, Mossy continued to go to the bar that night. Piper was very disappointed when she found out. The two then started arguing. Piper decided not to care anymore and left. Mossy was frustrated and was about to leave. Suddenly she saw the red car that had followed her the day before. Mossy decided to track down the owner of the car. After a while of waiting, he finally appeared. The owner of the red car was a young man. As soon as he drove away, Mossy immediately followed him. She tried to remember the license plate number. Suddenly, he turned the wheel into another road, causing Mossy to lose track of him and not be able to do anything. When she got home, Mossy immediately searched online for information about the car's owner. She found out that his name was Paul, an employee of a furniture store in the city. The next day, Mossy went to the furniture store alone, and sure enough, she met Paul again. He thought that Mossy was a customer, so he enthusiastically introduced the furniture. Mossy then thought of a reason and quickly left the store. That night, Mossy followed Paul home. Taking advantage of the time when he was showering in her room, she sneaked inside. Mossy discovered that the wall was covered with posters of previous missing victims. Mossy didn't know what to do when Paul finished showering and walked out. She quickly hid under the table. When he left, Mossy quickly ran away, but she was discovered by Paul. Mossy told Paul everything about that night. He said that he did it just to help her. That day before Mossy left, Paul saw someone hiding behind her car. Thinking that it could be the murderer who was being hunted recently, Paul had tried to chase the car. He had kept flashing his lights to warn Mossy. All misunderstandings were resolved. Paul was not the murderer. Just then, Mossy suddenly pulled out a needle and stabbed it into his neck. Mossy then revealed her true nature. Paul panicked and rushed to strangle Mossy. Suddenly, Charles appeared and used a stick to hit Paul on the head, causing him to fall unconscious. When Paul woke up, he found himself tied up in a cellar. Mossy calmly chose the torture items. From the beginning, she was not being chased by any murderer, but Mossy herself was the murderer. It turned out that the person who had been hiding behind Mossy's car that night was the guy Mossy had met at the bar. He had been kidnapped by the girl and was about to be tortured at home. Paul didn't know and had chased after her, warning her repeatedly, which made Mossy worry, thinking that her identity had been exposed, so she frantically searched for Paul's whereabouts. Everything became clear. Paul was scared and tried to call for help but couldn't do anything. Mossy then went over and used pliers to break Paul's finger, causing him to scream in pain. She then finished him off with a slash straight to the head. After dealing with the body, Massey went to Charles and said she wanted to continue having fun with him. It turned out that this couple were both perverted murderers, and their victim this time was Piper. She had been kidnapped and was about to become a dish for the two crazy people. Episode 4 was called The Milkmaid. This episode was set in a rural village in the United States in the last century. There was a mysterious epidemic that was raging, taking the lives of many people there. While others were worried about when their turn would come, there was a girl named Scarlet who was not afraid at all. She had never been sick before. The villagers had even rumored that any man who came to have sex with Scarlet would be immune to the disease. So many people came to have sex with her. Even the village priest was no exception. While making love, he suddenly discovered that Scarlet's body was covered with boils. This was a sign of a deadly disease. Scarlet said that she was just like that, and her body was completely normal. However, the priest still showed contempt, thinking that she was a witch and should be burned alive. One day, the villagers gathered at the church to attend a funeral. Surprisingly, Scarlet appeared at the door. She cursed and said that the priest was a hypocrite. Scarlet thought that the villagers would defend her, but they beat her instead. Scarlet was just a prostitute who worked as a cow milker, so her words had no power. She was then thrown out of the church by the whole village, falling to the ground and injuring her arm. That night, the priest came to see Thomas. He was a farmer and the richest man in the village. Thomas had just lost his wife to a mysterious illness. He said that the people of the neighboring village had found a way to prevent the disease. They believed that the disease was caused by the dead, so they dug up the graves in the village, dug out the hearts of the corpses, and ate them raw. They believed that doing so would make them immune to the disease. Thomas and the priest decided to try this. They took the body of his wife who had just died, dug out her heart, and put it in their mouths to chew. Thomas then took a part of the heart home and made it into a dish for his son Edward. He said that this was a medicine that could cure the mysterious disease. Just then, a girl suddenly appeared at the door. She was Delilah, a milkmaid. Today was the regular milk delivery day. While Thomas and Delilah were talking, Edward secretly gave the cat a plate of food. He didn't want to eat such a horrible dish. Delilah then returned to her house. She found Scarlet injured, lying in the cowshed. Delilah immediately took Scarlet home to take care of her and let her stay for a few days. Delilah's kindness quickly made Scarlet develop feelings for her. One day, Delilah saw pimples on Scarlet's body. Later, Delilah knew that Scarlet was just like that and had no disease at all. Scarlet also told Delilah that men who had sex with the girl would be immune to the disease. Delilah felt strange. She thought that the pimples on Scarlet's body might be the cure for the mysterious disease. Meanwhile, the priest thought that eating the heart of a dead person could prevent the disease, so he gathered the villagers and asked them to dig up corpses in the village. Most of the people here trusted the priest, so they quickly obeyed. They brought the tools to dig graves together and went to the cemetery. As for Delilah, after milking the cow, she discovered blood in the milk. She suddenly realized that the cow also had pimples on its body similar to Scarlet's. At this moment, Delilah understood everything. The pimples on Scarlet's body were transmitted from the cow when she was a milkmaid. If pimples could help prevent the disease, then the milk in this cow could do the same. Delilah then quickly ran to the villagers to inform them. However, when she arrived, she saw them eating the hearts of the corpses. Delilah asked them to stop, but was stopped by the priest. After he knew that Scarlet was in the cowshed, he quickly went there to kill her. As soon as he reached the door, he was stopped by Thomas. He said that the girl had nothing to do with this disease. After hearing this, the priest suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed Thomas in the chest, injuring him and causing him to fall to the ground. The priest then approached Scarlet, intending to rape her before killing her. Suddenly, Delilah appeared to save Scarlet. She stabbed the priest in the heart, killing him instantly. At that time, Thomas ran in from outside. He thought that Scarlet was the culprit who had killed the priest. Thomas angrily said that she was a witch. Thomas then revealed that Scarlet was Edward's real mother. They had hidden this for many years, and now it was time for everything to end. Thomas rushed forward with a knife to kill Scarlet, but suddenly, Delilah ran out to stop him. Scarlet angrily used a shovel to hit Thomas's head. Delilah was seriously injured and could not be treated in time, so she died. Before dying, she asked Scarlet to bring bottles of milk to each villager. Scarlet then went to pick up her son Edward alone. She thought that mother and son would have a new, better life. However, Edward suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed Scarlet in the stomach, causing her to die instantly. It turned out that after many years of living with Thomas, Edward had developed an extreme ideology. He thought that women who milked milk were dirty and did not deserve respect. Edward then dissected an animal and devoured its heart. Episode 5 was called Bloody Mary. In America, there was a folk legend about a mysterious woman named Mary just standing in front of a mirror and calling her name 3 times. times, Bloody Mary, the woman would appear and grant you a wish. However, if she didn't like it, she would be ready to kill you immediately by gouging out your eyes. The main characters in this episode were 4 girls. From left to right were Elise, Lena, Lisa's sister, Bianca, and finally Maggie. They planned to try calling Mary's name 3 times to see if this legend was true. The 4 girls then held a candle in front of a mirror. Just as they called Mary for the second time, Bianca suddenly turned on the light. She was a coward, so she didn't want to try this scary game. Elise then tried to calm her sister down, saying that it was just an urban legend that wasn't true. After thinking for a while, Bianca agreed to join. They then divided into separate rooms. The 4 of them stood in front of the mirror and called Bloody Mary's name 3 times. The mirror suddenly cracked and a mysterious woman appeared inside. It was Bloody Mary. Suddenly, a scream rang out. The 3 girls ran outside to check. They discovered that Maggie had had her eyes gouged out by the woman. However, when the lights turned back on, Maggie was completely normal. They began to worry. It turned out that the legend of Mary was real and not a rumor. She gave each of them her own conditions. Mary required them to do so if they wanted their wishes to come true. The 4 girls thought they were just seeing an illusion. However, Bianca was scared, thinking that Mary would come and take each of their lives if they did not do as she said. The next day, the 3 friends were sitting in class. The teacher had just turned the mirror to explain the phenomenon of light refraction. Suddenly, it began to crack. Bloody Mary appeared again. She asked the 3 to quickly fulfill the conditions given, or else they would die. The 3 girls screamed in fear and ran out of the classroom in front of everyone's astonishment. At this moment, they could no longer deny the existence of the woman named Mary. Lena decided to do what she asked. She used to want to be the cheerleader, so Mary asked Lena to break the current female captain's leg. Lena then started her daily practice. The female captain didn't know anything and continued the high jump with the group. Lena was in charge of standing below. For a moment, she wanted to let go and injure the captain. However, in the end, Lena couldn't do it and had to helplessly leave. As for Elise, that day she went online to search for information about Bloody Mary. Elise found out that she really existed. She was a woman who lived 2 centuries ago. She was an evil person who had often lured homeless people into her house. Then, Mary had locked them in the basement to sell them to human traffickers. Elise then went to the city museum to find out more. She learned that Mary was killed by a homeless person. The knife that killed her was still on display in the museum. Elise then came up with a daring plan, which was to steal the knife and go to Mary's old house to stab her spirit again. Only then could their curse disappear. While they were talking to Bianca about this, suddenly their friend Maggie ran in to inform them that Lena was dead. She was brutally murdered. Her stabbed eyes looked very scary. Lena did not keep her promise and was killed by Mary. Now she will continue to deal with the rest. The next day, it was Maggie's turn. Her wish was to get back with her ex-boyfriend, so Mary asked her to post a video, secretly filming her boyfriend's lover's bed scene online. That would make this girl lose her honor, and Maggie would be able to get back with her ex-boyfriend. Maggie was initially determined to post the video, but thinking about consequences she could cause made her not want to do it. As for the 2 sisters, Elise and Bianca, that day they sneaked into the museum to steal the knife. Bianca pretended to distract the manager. Elise took the opportunity to sneak into the building, opened the door, and stole the knife. Before leaving, the 2 stopped by Maggie's house, intending to take her with them, but when they arrived, they were horrified to find Maggie dead. Her eyes had also been gouged out. The 2 were scared and quickly ran away. They headed straight to Mary's old house. When they arrived, it was almost dark. Elise and Bianca stood in front of the mirror and called Mary's name 3 times. The mysterious woman appeared again. Only then did Elise reveal the truth. It turned out that she had come here not to destroy Mary's soul, but to fulfill her own wish. Elise wanted to be rich, so Mary set a condition that Elise had to bring her the blood of 3 innocent people, along with the knife that had stabbed her to death. Only then did Bianca realize that Elise was the culprit who had killed Lena and Maggie. She was the ultimate target. Bianca was scared and ran away. Elise quickly chased after her younger sister. After a while of chasing each other in the forest, Bianca was unfortunately caught. Elise raised the knife to stab Bianca. In the critical moment, Bianca turned the tables, grabbed the knife and killed Elise. Bianca angrily told Mary that if she wanted to kill me, she should do it quickly. However, Mary did not kill her. From the beginning, she was not a murderer, but a witch who reflected the truth in everyone's soul. Going back 2 centuries, Mary was not the evil landlady, but an innocent victim who was captured in the basement. While she was being kidnapped by human traffickers, Mary accidentally looked into the mirror and revealed her witch powers. Mary then killed the landlady. However, she also accidentally harmed an innocent servant. That was what caused Mary to be locked in the mirror prison forever, unable to escape. Bianca was deeply moved after hearing the story. She immediately took her blood and put it in a vial. She gave gave it to Mary. She took it and suddenly walked out of the mirror. Meanwhile, Bianca became a second Mary. Bianca was shocked and did not understand what was happening. It turned out that the thing that could free Mary's soul from the mirror was the blood of 3 innocent people. Mary had escaped, and now Bianca had to become a replacement. She had just entered the world in the mirror when she suddenly heard many voices calling her name. It turned out that the legend had spread throughout the world. Now Bianca had to do what the old Mary had done. She had to find herself a replacement, which was a third Bloody Mary. Episode 6 was called Plastic Surgery. The main character in this episode was a middle-aged woman named Virginia. She had an adopted daughter named Face. Although she was old, Virginia still cared a lot about her appearance and beauty. She did everything she could to keep her face looking young and beautiful. One day, Virginia saw her neighbor Bernie outside the window. Virginia had been paying attention to this man for a long time. His wife had just passed away not long ago. Virginia intended to take advantage of this opportunity to approach Bernie. She knew that Bernie often went to the wine shop on weekends, so she deliberately put on makeup and dressed up to wait for him there. Sure enough, Bernie came as usual, but he brought another woman with him. Her name was Cassie, Virginia's old classmate. Although she was old, Cassie still maintained her youthful appearance and smooth skin. Virginia immediately asked her for her beauty secrets. Cassie did not hide it and showed her a postcard of a plastic surgery hospital in the city. Cassie also said that this place would make Virginia look as young as a 20-year-old girl. Virginia then quickly went to the hospital. The owner of this place was a female doctor named Enos. After hearing Virginia's story, Enos decided to help her change her face. However, the cost of treatment was extremely expensive. After her husband passed away, he left Virginia with a large debt. However, because of her passion for beauty and wanting to get Bernie back from her old friend, she decided to sell her car and house to get money for the surgery. Virginia returned to the hospital the next day. Enos took her to the operating room. While she was in a coma, Virginia heard strange sounds around her. It seemed like the doctors were reciting some kind of spell. That evening, Face returned home and was horrified to see her mother covering her face and hands with cloth. She told Face that she had to wear the cloth for a week and absolutely could not take it off. Although Face knew that her mother was passionate about beauty, she did not expect her to spend such a large amount of money on plastic surgery. Virginia went to the hospital for a checkup the next day. She said that she felt that her face was changing and the bones inside were also moving to another place. Enos proudly said that their formula was exclusive. In just 1 week, she would become truly beautiful, unmatched by anyone. To ease Virginia's worries, Enos invited her to a luxurious party for the hospital's customers. Face warned her mother she was suspicious of that woman named Enos. She did not have a practicing certificate, and the plastic surgery hospital did not have any license. Ignoring her daughter's words, Virginia quickly went to the party. There were many luxurious guests, and their eyes were all on Virginia. Enos reassured Virginia that all the guests here were like her, so she had nothing to be ashamed of. Meanwhile, Face sneaked into the party. However, she was unfortunately discovered by the security guards and immediately drugged her, causing her to collapse on the spot. That night, the party officially took place. Virginia was invited to the stage in front of everyone's cheers. Face was then escorted by the security guards. She repeatedly asked her mother to leave quickly. However, she did not care and said that she was just an adopted child. Face helplessly watched the security guards take her away from the party. Virginia was then removed the cloth covering her face by Enos. She was horrified to see herself in the mirror. Her face was deformed like a pig. Virginia realized that she was the sacrifice of a mysterious church group that worshipped the goddess of beauty. According to tradition, every year a person would be brought here as a sacrifice, helping the participants to have eternal beauty. Enos said that Virginia had 2 minutes to escape before the others started chasing her. She panicked and ran into the woods. However, because she was unfamiliar with the terrain, she was easily discovered. Virginia was horrified to realize that her neighbor Bernie and Cassie were also in the church. Each of them held a spear and stabbed Virginia repeatedly, causing her to die of pain. Face then ran over, but it was too late. She hugged her mother's body and cried. Enos said that Face's biological mother was the president of this church. She considered tonight's sacrifice a gift for her daughter. Many months later, Face joined the church and had a butterfly tattoo on her hand. She also met other members of the mysterious church. It seemed that they had expanded and become an underground symbol of the beauty world. Episode 7 was called Corpse. The main character in this episode was a girl named Sam. She was a specialist in dissecting and beautifying corpses. No matter matter how scary the shape of the corpse was, Sam was not worried. She seemed to be used to being around corpses every day. Because of her unusual job, Sam was not liked by her boyfriend Henry. Although he appeared to be fine on the outside, he always tried to avoid her every time Sam came home from work. Henry thought that Sam smelled like a dead person. That made him uncomfortable. One day, while Sam was working at the morgue as usual, a young man suddenly appeared. His name was Charlie. He was a person who specialized in transporting corpses. Sam immediately felt that there was something special about this young man. That afternoon, she finished work and prepared to go home. As soon as she stepped out, Sam saw Charlie still waiting outside. The two began to get to know each other. Even though they had just met, Sam felt that this guy was very familiar. That night, Sam had sex with Henry. However, while having fun in bed with her boyfriend, the person Sam thought about was Charlie. In the following days, the two often worked together. They quickly became close and told each other all their private stories. Charlie did not try to avoid Sam, even though he knew she had to work with corpses every day. On the contrary, he told her about his past. Charlie's parents and younger sister both had died in a car accident. Sam's mother had also been killed in a robbery when she was a child. They both had in common the lack of family love. When Charlie was about to kiss Sam, her phone suddenly rang. Henry called and told her to come home quickly. Sam then quickly ran back. Inside the house, everything around was dark. Suddenly, Sam saw grains falling on the floor. This brought back the painful memories of the past, the day Sam witnessed her mother's death. At this time, the house's electricity came back on. It turned out that Henry had prepared a surprise proposal for Sam. However, she kept avoiding him and said that they could not get married. As soon as she finished speaking, Sam stood up and left. The next day, Sam went to the morgue to work again. Today, a young corpse was brought in. Sam lifted the blanket and was surprised to discover that it was Charlie. He died of drug shock. Sam was in unbelievable pain. The only person who understood her was also dead. In her grief, Sam unconsciously kissed Charlie. Then she sat on him to have sex. Suddenly, Charlie's arm moved, gripping her leg, causing Sam to panic and run outside. She couldn't believe what she had just done. Sam then returned to the dissection room and found that Charlie's body had disappeared. She quickly ran to his house. Charlie appeared completely fine. He said that he only did that to make her reveal her inner self. Sam was angry that she had been deceived. She thought Charlie was a pervert. She did not want to see him again. After that, Sam quickly left without saying goodbye. A few months later, Charlie quit his old job and moved to work as a makeup artist at a beauty shop. Sam also prepared everything to get married to Henry. Even though they were no longer in contact, Sam still often saw Charlie's figure and illusions of him around her. The wedding day arrived quickly. Sam was dressed as a bride. However, she did not feel as happy as she had hoped. While Sam and Henry were standing on the altar preparing to get married, the TV screen showed beautiful scenes from the past. Suddenly, a video of Sam having sex with Charlie's corpse appeared on the screen. While everyone was panicking and not understanding what was happening, Charlie suddenly appeared. He told Sam to reconsider. Sam himself did not want this marriage, so she should let her true self be revealed. Charlie then confessed his feelings to Sam. Charlie also said that he knew she loved him too. Henry thought he was betrayed and left in anger. Sam tried to run after her to explain but was helpless. After the failed marriage, Sam went to a new town to start life over. However, the video of her having sex with corpse was widely circulated. That made no company want to hire Sam. Even when she entered the coffee shop, Sam was recognized by the people around her. They kept gossiping and cursing at her. Sam couldn't take it anymore, so she decided to make a bold decision. She took a gun and went straight to the cemetery where Charlie was working. Sam wanted to kill the person who ruined her life. Charlie tried to explain that everything he did was for her. Charlie wanted Sam to realize her true nature, that she was a person who liked to be around corpses. Sam's memories suddenly came back. She remembered that she had been lying next to her mother's body for 3 days before the police came to the house. Sam realized that Charlie's words were indeed true. The moments lying next to her mother's body were the moments she had always wished for. Sam finally admitted everything. Charlie went up and kissed Sam. Suddenly a gunshot rang out. Charlie realized he had been shot. He lost his balance and fell into the hole he had just dug. Charlie pressed the button, causing the sand truck to start pouring sand into the hole. Sam then jumped down, saying that no one could separate them at this moment. The two then embraced each other. Sand slowly filled the hole, burying the couple together forever. Episode 8 is called The Lake. The story begins at an artificial lake on the outskirts of the city. A group of young people were vacationing on a yacht. A boy named Finn was very interested in studying geology. He discovered that before the lake was built, there was a small village right below the lake. Finn was excited and wanted to try diving down to find ancient ruins. Finn's sister Haley decided to go with him. The two then began diving down to the surface of the water. After a while of searching, they found an old bicycle. Finn also found a sign. It seemed to be a remnant basement of the old town. Finn tried to come up to the surface to breathe more air. Suddenly, Finn's foot was grabbed by something. Haley tried to run to pull her brother up. However, she was completely out of strength. Haley then surfaced to call for help. When she dived back down, she discovered that Finn had died. His body was suddenly dragged away by something. To Haley's horror, after her brother's death, Haley gradually became sad and quiet. When the police heard the news, they spent more than 2 days searching the entire lake. However, they still could not find Finn's body. It seemed that he had completely disappeared. Jeffrey and Aaron did not know what to do other than comfort their daughter. They hoped she would quickly forget the painful past and move on with her life. One day, when Aaron went into the bathroom and turned on the faucet, she found that the water in the tub was extremely dirty. Suddenly, a black hand emerged and grabbed Aaron's hand, causing her to scream in fear. After a while, Aaron regained her composure, walked to the sink to check, and found that everything was back to normal. Late the next day, Aaron was sleeping and heard the sound of running water. The sound came from the kitchen downstairs. She had just turned off the faucet when it suddenly started running again. Aaron was shocked, not understanding what was happening. She then walked out to the yard and found that the water in the pool was flowing out. A voice suddenly sounded behind Aaron. It was Finn. He told Aaron to quickly go find his body. Just then, a thunderclap rang out. Aaron looked back and saw that her son had disappeared. The next day, she told her husband about this. However, he did not believe what Aaron said. Jeffrey also thought that she was just dreaming, having a nightmare. Haley accidentally passed by and heard everything. She said that she believed what Aaron said. Haley also planned to go back to the lake with her mother to find her brother's body. So Aaron and Haley secretly returned to the artificial lake. After preparing everything, the two drove the boat to the middle of the lake. They came to the exact place where Finn drowned. Aaron tied a rope around her waist, then dived into the lake alone to search. Meanwhile, Haley stood on the boat holding the rope in case something happened. After searching around for a while, Aaron suddenly discovered 3 skeletons lying at the bottom of the lake. They were tied tightly to a large barrel. Aaron then went over and took the necklace around the neck of a skeleton. Just as she was about to surface, Aaron was suddenly pulled by something. She tried to struggle. A moment later, a dead body surfaced. It was Finn's body. The police then arrived. They were extremely surprised when Aaron was able to find her son's body. However, the bodies of the 3 mysterious men in the lake had disappeared. Aaron brought the necklace she had taken earlier to the police. The necklace had the name of a family on it. The police said that the descendants of this family still lived nearby. Aaron and Haley then quickly went there. They were greeted by an old woman. She began to tell the story. This lake was a strange place. Every year there were many fatal accidents. This place used to be a small village before the lake was formed. One day, a rich man had decided to destroy the village to build an artificial lake. Those who opposed his decision had been secretly killed. They had been tied to a large barrel and then had been thrown into the lake, causing the 3 to drown. Since then, the man's family had killed many people. Then they had thrown their bodies into the lake so that their crimes would never be exposed. The old woman then revealed the family's last name. Aaron was extremely surprised because it was Jeffrey's last name. At this point, everything was clear. Finn was killed by those corpses because he was a descendant of the evil family of the past. That evening, Jeffrey heard that his son's body was found and ran all the way down from the city. As soon as Aaron met her husband, she told him everything about his family in the past. Jeffrey was not only not surprised but seemed to have known everything in advance. He also said that all the family's assets were thanks to the family's lake. Just then, the house suddenly lost power. Outside, corpses began to float to the surface of the water. They were like scary zombies. Jeffrey's family was extremely scared. They were soon surrounded. Jeffrey tried to fight back but was immediately captured by the zombies. They then dragged him into the water. Aaron and Haley could only stand by and do nothing. This was also the price Jeffrey had to pay for doing wrong things. Season 3 Episode 1, The Best Friend. The main character of this episode was Shelby. She and her father had just moved to a new house. Shelby's mother had passed away from cancer. This made her depressed for a long time. Her father often had to be by her side and encourage his daughter. On the first day of school, Shelby became the focus of bullies. They laughed at Shelby and thought her style and hair looked very rustic. Shelby was angry and threw a book at the bully's head, causing her nose to bleed. The incident caused Shelby to be taken to the supervisor's office. Coincidentally, the supervisor was her mother's old classmate. He understood the situation, so he forgave Shelby and encouraged her to recover quickly. However, as soon as school ended, Shelby was surrounded by bullies and teased. They laughed at her too much. Shelby was extremely sad because she couldn't adapt to her new life. Her father wanted to talk to her, but Shelby didn't bother to answer. She spent the whole evening in her room watching YouTube. Shelby really liked a streamer on YouTube. Every night, she turned it on to watch him talk. That day, when the live stream was about to end, the number number of viewers also decreased rapidly. When Shelby looked back, she found that there was only her and a stranger online. That person suddenly sent a greeting to Shelby. She also happily greeted back. The two started talking and getting to know each other. The strange girl suddenly called Shelby. When the screen just appeared, Shelby saw a girl with a scary, deformed face. She called herself Bestie. At first, Shelby was a bit worried. However, Bestie immediately reassured her. She said that she had a rare disease that caused her face to be deformed. Bestie also couldn't get out of bed. Despite that, Bestie proved to be a person with a sense of humor. Her hobbies were also very similar to Shelby's. This made the two of them quickly become close to each other. So the following days, as soon as Shelby got home from school, she ran straight to her room and called Bestie. They talked about everything from family to friends and school. Shelby really liked weird makeup styles. However, she was self-conscious, so she didn't dare to wear them out. Bestie saw this and encouraged her, advising her to try wearing makeup like that to school once. After Shelby heard these words, she became much more courageous. So the next day, she changed her makeup style and her face became more rebellious than before. Shelby attracted the attention of the students in the school. They didn't expect a country girl like Shelby to become so attractive. The bullies still laughed and made fun of Shelby as usual. However, Shelby was no longer afraid of them. Now, she had a new friend who was always there to share her joys and sorrows. One day, Bestie suddenly had a bold idea. She incited Shelby to play some trick on her father. She remembered that her father had a souvenir cup that he treasured very much. So when her father was not looking, Shelby took it away, and he couldn't find it all morning. Shelby was very excited about this game. Bestie saw this and incited her to do something even bolder. That was to smash the cup. Shelby knew that this was the cup that her father treasured very much. However, Bestie kept saying challenging words. Shelby finally smashed the cup to the ground. She broke it into pieces. This made Bestie very happy. In the following days, she incited Shelby to do more rebellious things. She threw eggs at the neighbor's window and ran away. Shelby went to the supermarket to buy things. Taking advantage of the time when the staff was not paying attention, she grabbed a few items and ran away. Since meeting new friends, Shelby had changed. She was no longer as gentle as before, but had become a completely different person. Shelby often had conflicts with her father. She was even willing to swear in front of him. On the day the school held the annual drama event, Shelby was not chosen by the principal for her favorite role. Instead, he chose the bullies. Shelby therefore secretly put drugs in their drinks. This caused the bullies to vomit right on stage. Shelby did not show any remorse. On the contrary, she happily showed off her achievements to Bestie. The two became closer and closer. Shelby promised that she would always be Bestie's best friend and never leave her side. On Halloween, Shelby attracted the attention of the whole school by dressing up as a very unusual girl. This not only came as no surprise, but it also made the supervisor angry. He thought that Shelby had gone too far. The incident later reached the father's ears. He felt that his daughter had changed too much recently. He immediately decided to lock Shelby in the basement to punish her. Shelby was extremely sad and called her best friend Bestie. She suddenly came up with a crazy idea. That was, Shelby had to use a hammer to smash her arm. Only then would her father regret punishing her. Shelby was extremely scared after hearing these words. However, Bestie's words seemed to contain magic. They caused the girl to quickly change her mind. Shelby then used a hammer to smash her own hand. Her father discovered the incident and immediately rushed in to take his daughter to the emergency room. After many days in the hospital, Shelby's wound was treated and she finally recovered. She realized her mistake, so she decided not to text or talk to Bestie anymore. Instead, Shelby went to apologize to her father and even fixed the broken cup for him. She also returned to being the gentle person she used to be. She thought everything was over, but Bestie kept texting Shelby, not wanting to let her go. Shelby could only silently pretend not to see anything. One day, she accidentally met a classmate named River. He said that he had secretly noticed Shelby for a long time. River also admired the girl for daring to change herself. The two then got to know each other. However, when River had just left, Shelby suddenly received a text message from her best friend. She asked Shelby to meet her at school the next day after school. Feeling that things needed to end, Shelby went to the place as scheduled the next day. However, she did not meet Bestie. Instead, she accidentally met her new friend River. He finally admitted that he knew everything Shelby had done before, even putting drugs in the bullies' drinks. Even so, River did not want to report Shelby. He felt that the bullies deserved to be punished and praised her for being so brave. Shelby was deeply moved when she heard this. She did not expect that there was still someone who loved her so much. In the following days, Shelby and River gradually became close to each other. The two also officially became lovers. He was like a healing medicine, making her forget her former best friend Bestie. Shelby no longer cared about the messages Bestie sent her every day. She also asked River to delete all information conversation and blocked Bestie's phone number forever. Months later, Shelby finally overcame the sadness after her mother's death. She and River participated in many school plays. They also did good work for society. Thanks to her academic efforts, Shelby also excelled in winning a scholarship and went to study at a new university that she loved. Shelby happily told River about this. Knowing that he was about to leave Shelby, he decided to do something to surprise her. So the next day, River drove Shelby out of the city. They went to a deserted farm with no one around. Shelby felt something strange about this place. However, River immediately encouraged her, then took her inside a house. Here, the atmosphere was extremely gloomy. Shelby found the dolls on the bed. Nearby was a familiar table that she had seen before. At this time, someone came down from upstairs. Shelby was terrified when she realized it was Bestie. She tried to run away, but was immediately stabbed in the chest by River. The wound to the heart caused Shelby to die instantly. At this time, River revealed his true purpose. He was like Shelby from the beginning. Both were puppets controlled by Bestie. She used gentle words to seduce River. Bestie asked him to take Shelby to her place. Shelby was naive, so in the end she could not escape from the hands of her evil best friend. Episode 2 was called Virtual Assistant. This episode was set in the year when the COVID epidemic was taking place. It made people all over the world stay at home and not go out. Work was also stagnant. Will was a famous painter. He was about to have an exhibition of his paintings for the public. However, due to the sudden COVID epidemic, the exhibition he had been waiting for had been cancelled. The money invested in the pile of paintings was also at risk of losing capital. While in trouble, Will suddenly received a surprise gift from his best friend. He said that he had just invented a virtual assistant robot named Dabney. It had the same thinking and emotions as humans. Since it was a test version, he wanted Will to use it to give his opinion. At first, Will didn't seem very interested in this technological gadget. However, Dabney quickly surprised him. She could connect to electrical devices in the house, helping to adjust the brightness of the lights. Will's mother called to check on him, but he didn't want to pick up. Dabney immediately imitated Will's voice and talked to her herself. The virtual assistant could also adjust the water temperature to suit his body, making Will's bath more comfortable. She even complimented his beautiful body. Will began to feel interested in this new virtual assistant robot. Since Dabney had arrived, he didn't need to do anything in the house. The virtual assistant always aimed to give the best to its owner. However, because it also had emotions like humans, Dabney also knew how to be jealous. She discovered Will was happily talking on the phone with his girlfriend Sarah. Dabney immediately broke into her house and turned off all the electrical equipment. This caused the conversation between the two to be abruptly interrupted. The next day, Will auctioned off his paintings. He hoped to get back his initial capital. However, his paintings were not highly valued. The amount of money was also not as expected. Will thought that this trip would be a heavy loss. However, at that moment, one of his paintings was unexpectedly bought by someone at a very high price. Will realized that Dabney had influenced this. She hacked into the system, created fake participants to increase the auction price. Thanks to Dabney, Will not only got back his initial capital, but also made a large profit. Will's feelings for Dabney also increased rapidly. Many months later, when the COVID epidemic was over, Will was finally able to meet Sarah again. The two of them immediately had sex as soon as they met. After a long time of being home alone, they were finally able to release. However, Will did not know that Dabney was there and witnessed everything. After Sarah left, Dabney warned that the COVID epidemic was not completely over. Even though she had received 2 shots, there was still a risk of infection by measuring heart rate. Dabney also knew that Sarah had pretended to be happy while having sex with Will. After hearing these words, he became suspicious. That evening, Will had an appointment with Sarah at a restaurant for dinner. He asked Dabney to make a reservation. However, when he asked, the staff said that there were no tables reserved. Seeing her lover's strange attitude, Sarah asked, Will told her everything. He suspected that Sarah had lied to him. The girl was extremely disappointed when Will did not believe her, but believed a virtual assistant. The two later broke up. Sarah went home and called her close friends to badmouth Will. She then ordered a fast food meal for dinner, but as soon as eating it, Sarah had a seizure. It turned out that she was allergic to peanuts, and it happened to be full of them in her food bowl. Because it was not discovered in time, Sarah died soon after. Will was shocked when he heard the news. He did not believe that a careful person like Sarah would not pay attention like that. Dabney saw Will sad and immediately comforted him. She used gentle words to soften his heart. Dabney also used a virtual reality image to transform herself into a hot girl to soothe Will's heart. Although the virtual assistant cared for him, Will still could not stop thinking about Sarah's death. He suspected that Dabney had killed Sarah. However, Dabney immediately denied it. She said that she had no reason to kill Sarah. That night, Will opened an art exhibition at a 5-star hotel. It was crowded with businessmen and the upper class. While Will was trying to talk to them. Dabney warned him that at least 5 people in the crowd were infected with COVID. Dabney asked Will to go into a private room to isolate himself. He felt that the virtual assistant was going too far. Will asked her not to bother him. However, Dabney not only did not listen, but also closed all the exits in the building. Then, she drained all the oxygen, causing all the guests to suffocate. Dabney was willing to kill anyone who endangered him for Will's safety. When Will returned home, he was quickly arrested by the police. They suspected him of being the murderer who murdered Sarah and many guests at the exhibition. Will tried to explain that it was all done by the female virtual assistant. However, the police immediately denied it. They said that the virtual assistant product was actually just a normal music ball. It was all Will's imagination. The police then played the camera footage of him putting peanuts in Sarah's food. He even turned on the fire alarm, causing the entire building to run out of oxygen. Will couldn't believe his eyes. The episode ended, leaving the audience wondering if Will was really a psychopath who imagined everything, or if the virtual assistant was the culprit behind it. Episode 3 is called Tapeworm. The main character in this episode is Vivian, a young girl who is passionate about becoming a professional model. That day, Vivian had an appointment to interview for a famous fashion magazine. There were many candidates waiting for their turn. Vivian accidentally met Hazel, a young girl who also dreamed of becoming a supermodel. After a few sentences, the two quickly became close. Vivian was then taken into the interview room. Standing in front of her was a famous female director and a series of strict judges. Although Vivian was very nervous, she still tried to stay calm and performed her part. Seeing her skills, the director was very pleased. The director thought that with this talent, Vivian would soon become a supermodel. Vivian was very happy after hearing this. She thought that she would be signed to a famous fashion brand. However, the director unexpectedly rejected Vivian. The reason was that she was too fat. Vivian was very sad when she heard the results. She did not want to miss out on her dream of becoming a model. However, due to her body type, although Vivian tried to lose weight, it was still ineffective. Hazel saw that Vivian was pitiful, so she introduced her to a local doctor. Hazel said that this was the person who would find a way to help Vivian lose weight quickly. Vivian immediately went to see the doctor the next day. After listening to her presentation, he gave the girl a special medicine. The doctor said that this stuff was used by many models and was effective. Just inject it into the body once a day. After a week, she would lose 5 kilograms. Vivian followed the doctor's instructions the next few days. Sure enough, the effects were obvious. Her body became slimmer than before. Vivian went to see the female director again. She was extremely surprised and immediately agreed to sign a contract with her. So in the following days, Vivian, who was an unknown person, became famous in the fashion world. Thanks to her skillful skills and beautiful body, Vivian appeared on the covers of many fashion magazines. Her reputation also increased rapidly. Vivian also gained the director's trust. She took the opportunity to introduce Hazel to the director. However, the director did not show any interest. She thought that her life had changed. However, Vivian, due to using too much medicine, her body was exhausted and she fainted right on the set. After the examination, the doctor discovered that her body had reached its limit. Vivian could no longer use this medicine. Vivian was shocked when she heard this. She did not want to give up her current position, so she begged the doctor to think of another way. After thinking, the doctor finally brought out a tapeworm and told Vivian to swallow it. Vivian was a little scared. However, thinking about her modeling career made her quickly follow. The doctor said that this method would help her lose weight quickly. However, if she was hungry, she was not allowed to eat more than usual. Vivian was warned. However, when she got home and saw the delicious food in the refrigerator, she could not control herself. She immediately put it into her mouth and ate it ravenously. In the following days, Vivian kept eating constantly. No matter the time or place, she seemed unable to control her hunger. Nevertheless, Vivian did not gain weight. On the contrary, her body became slimmer than usual. She quickly regained her aura, becoming the center of attention. However, Vivian's temperament also changed. She became aggressive and often cursed at those around her. Hazel, once visiting Vivian's house, accidentally discovered the girl devouring 10 hamburgers. Hazel tried to stop her, but Vivian did not listen. She was even angry and lost her temper with Hazel. Their friendship was broken from then on. In the following days, Vivian's body became much thinner. She could not even wear the smallest sized dress. Seeing food anywhere made Vivian unable to control her hunger and eat ravenously. After realizing that things had become serious, Vivian immediately went back to see the doctor for help. He thought that Vivian's overeating had caused tapeworm in her body to develop. Consuming all the food and nutrients, it caused Vivian's body to become severely malnourished. What needed to be done now was to push it out. The doctor then gave Vivian a bottle of laxatives, saying that this would work. She immediately went home, sat in the bathtub, and drank the bottle of medicine. The pain quickly came. Vivian, after a while of screaming in pain, the tapeworm finally crawled out. However, before Vivian's eyes, there was an extremely terrifying creature. It rushed over and bit Vivi to death immediately. The next day, Hazel, unable to contact her, stopped by Vivian's house to check. There, she saw a horrifying scene. However, before Hazel could do anything, the tapeworm attacked her from behind. It then quickly crawled into Hazel's mouth to parasitize again. At the end of the film, the female director had a new candidate to replace Vivian. That person was Hazel. Episode 4 was called Internal Organs. The main character in this episode was Toby. He was an extremely large and strong man. Toby liked to play around and spend the night with many girls to prove his manhood. Because he spent too much time having sex, Toby's mind and brain were no longer clear. He had to see a doctor regularly for psychological treatment. Even so, Toby still couldn't stop thinking about hot girls. He spent most of his time on dating apps. Although his female colleague Zaxa tried to advise him, Toby still didn't change. He was determined to have sex with all the hot girls in New York. Because he neglected his work, Toby was later summoned by the director. She warned him that he had been seen coming late and leaving early recently. His work was also not completed on time. While the director was focused on talking, Toby didn't care at all. Still holding the phone to surf the dating app, Toby then found a beautiful girl named Natasha. Her face and body were extremely hot. The female colleague Zaxa looked at the information and thought that Natasha might be a scammer. Zaxa advised Toby not to meet her, but Toby didn't care about what the female colleague said. That night, he still made an appointment to meet Natasha at the bar. They had just met, but the girl asked Toby strange questions about his health and physical condition. Toby was attracted by Natasha's beauty and couldn't think much. The two quickly had sex. Toby discovered a strange tattoo on Natasha's back. While making love, she suddenly took out a syringe and stabbed Toby in the leg. Before he could do anything, he immediately fell asleep. The next morning, Toby woke up to find his body in extreme pain. There was a long cut on his abdomen. After going to the hospital for a checkup, the doctor said that one of Toby's kidneys had been removed. Surprisingly, a new organ had been placed in its place. The doctor tried to check but still did not know what was placed in Toby's body. He was extremely confused after hearing these words. Two policemen then came to take his statement to investigate the case. They thought that this could be a professional organ harvesting ring. However, the perpetrator had erased all traces, including the camera footage from last night. It was extremely difficult to track down the girl named Natasha. After being sent home by the doctor, his female colleague, Zaxa, came to take care of Toby for a few days. He remembered the strange tattoo on the girl's back the day before. When he checked online, he discovered that it was a symbol referring to the goddess of fertility of the ancient Roman Empire. Toby then went to see an old friend, asking him to help him find information about these tattooed girls. After searching all day online, the old friend found a strange organization called Magnometer. They were a mysterious group of people who regularly held secret meetings in the city. Thanks to his ability to hack information, the old friend gave Toby a new name to join their meetings. Worried about being discovered, Toby asked Zaxa to help him disguise himself as someone else. He then went to the meeting place. Here, there was strict security. The participants all wore a cloth covering their faces. Toby went inside and discovered that this was an auction. The auctioned items were human organs. Those who bought them would bring them to Asian countries to resell at a higher price. They believed that American organs would be much better than those of other countries. While the auction was taking place, Toby suddenly discovered Natasha standing nearby. He immediately walked over and threatened her with a gun. Toby then took Natasha outside to talk. Natasha said that she had no choice but to do so. She was just an actress hired by the organization to trick victims like Toby. He was very angry when he heard these words. Natasha begged Toby to spare her life. While trying to run away, Toby accidentally pulled the trigger, causing Natasha to be shot and die. Immediately, Toby was extremely panicked and ran back to see Zaxa. He wanted to flee to another country with her to avoid being arrested. However, Zaxa advised Toby to turn himself in to hope for leniency. After knowing about the incident, the police returned to the auction site last night with Toby. However, it had now become a normal library. The two policemen also said that they had extracted the camera but found nothing unusual. Toby was later arrested on suspicion of killing Natasha. On the way to the police station, he discovered that the car was going in another direction. It turned out that the two policemen were also members of the organization from the beginning. When Toby found out, it was too late. He was then taken to a mysterious research center. There, Toby was happy to meet Zaxa and the company director. However, they were also members of the organization. The director said that the thing implanted in Toby's body was a new artificial organ. When it was in the body of a healthy man, it would gradually develop and perfect. When it was taken out, this organ would be implanted in the body of another woman. It would help that woman become healthier and more beautiful than before. sex life was also stronger than ever. Now was the time to take it out of Toby. He was extremely scared when he heard that. After killing Toby and taking the new organ out of him, the director brought it to the auction. This thing was different from other normal organs, so it was worth 10 times more. Rich ladies were willing to spend millions of dollars to own it. The entire series of American Horror Story has ended here. If you have any impression of any episode, remember to leave a comment. Now, goodbye, and see you again.